Okay, in this episode, I sit down with David Watts, the MD of Childerstone Project Management. Wow, what a guy David is. I think you need to listen to this episode about how a modern consultancy should be run. He's got some really great ideas about how he develops people, about being comfortable with people moving on, that he doesn't see them necessarily or doesn't expect them necessarily to want to be with the business for all of their careers. And he's quite cool with that. He's a really nice guy, loved what he's doing. They're a great business. They've grown very quickly. I suspect they will continue to grow because of both David's leadership, but also that he's got a really quality senior leadership team below him. He employs great people and they work on great projects. Really simple stuff, you might say, but it's so amazing how many consultancies don't get the simple bit right of hire good people, look after them, do a good job for clients. It's a simple model that works. As I say, a lot of consultancies don't get this. I think they'll get a lot from listening to David. Right, well, delighted to welcome David Watts of Childerstone Project Management to the pod. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
No, thank you for coming on board.
No, pleasure.
So my first question is where the name come from? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, the name originally came from it's a family history. So My grandfather was adopted when he was a baby.
Right.
His birth surname was Childerstone, and when we were trying to think of a name for the business, I was having a chat with a few people I knew. I did a lot of work with my uncle on setting up the brand and the name, and he was just like, pick a name that means something.
Yeah.
That was the first thing on a bit of paper. And to be honest, at that point, the advice was go with your first thought because it's probably the right one. And that's where it came from. So there's a bit of family history in there, but actually, we just thought it actually kind of had a nice ring to it when it came to a PM firm as well. So
people say often one of the most stressful things about setting up a business is finding the name.
Totally, yeah. And to be honest, we didn't want to spend too much time doing it because for us, and again, I had a lot of help. My uncle is a marketing and brand expert, so he gave us a lot of freebie advice right at the start. And his number one tip was if you spend more than half an hour to an hour on the name, you're not focusing on the stuff that actually you're setting up the business to do.
Yeah,
so if you're happy with that, land on it and let's go.
Brilliant.
So yeah, thankfully we didn't spend too long chewing the cud on that one.
Good. So how big is the business at the moment? What are the kind of core sectors that you're focusing, core service lines?
We are just over 30. So we're 31, be 32 in April.
Yeah.
Core service lines and sectors, we're doing a lot, all in sort of private sector. It's all commercial clients, lots of institutional lenders, banks, FTSE listed traders. Most of it's through connections we've worked with or people in the past. But sectors is very much focused, I would say, kind of residential, retail, industrial, commercial office. We do quite a bit of monitoring and bank work where they've perhaps got developments that are under a bit of pressure. We tend to get involved in that sector, but again, that stays very much across our kind of core areas of residential through to commercial office with industrial and retail in the middle.
Good, okay. So that's a decent mix, I guess.
It's a good spread, yeah.
There's a lot of listening to someone about just kind of counterbalancing your risk in terms of different sectors. If one's, obviously residential has been a fun sector for the last 2 years due to the building safety regulator.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, to be honest, our sort of strive for sectors probably just comes from most project managers don't want to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
And I probably spent the early part of my career working on a really broad range of sectors, lots of different great clients that I work with, and then perhaps in my stint client side, got a bit more focused on the retail sector. So one of my big reasons for moving back to consultancy was to get a broader range and go back to a little bit more of everything. And that's kind of how we've then set the business up. So the recruits we've made at senior level definitely have stronger expertise in different sectors.
Okay.
Just to try and, as you say, spread the net a little bit. It gives people a chance to work on different things, and it means we're not overly exposed to one sector or another, and we can kind of flex with the market as the peaks and troughs come in each sector.
Yeah, all right, perfect. So I believe I'm right in saying Leeds and London are your main offices, and then you've got a Bristol office as well?
We do have a Bristol office as well, yeah.
Okay.
So it's the 3 offices at the moment. We've got 3 down in Bristol, but that only opened in May last year. We're recruiting for 1 or 2 more in Bristol at the moment, so that office is doing really well, going great guns. And London and Leeds are the 2 sort of primary offices at the moment.
And so what's the headcount split across Leeds and London?
10, 12 in Leeds, probably 15 in London, and then Bristol's the growing arm. But there's recruitment happening in every office at every time. So those numbers change quite quickly.
And is it all project management?
Predominantly, but we are offering cost management and building surveying services.
Okay.
So we set the business up, it's in the name, but as a project management firm.
Yeah.
And I've firmly always been of the view that you should have your expertise and you should broadly stay in lane. I'm not a huge fan of the massive multidisciplinary offering, but there are projects, clients and needs that actually does require a combined PM QS function. And we also just found we had a lot of work we were passing on to building surveyors. So it just made a lot of sense, if nothing else, to expedite our own projects rather than going to external building surveying consultancies and waiting for that 2-3 week lead in. If actually we just had the people in-house that we could send out and crack on with whatever needed to be surveyed, or party walls or various neighbourly matters. So it's kind of grown organically into the other service lines. And then the cost management piece, we've brought in 2 really good QSs, and that's, again, starting to grow and have its own kind of client base and its own service line and its own sectors. So, yeah, it's very much PM focused, but the QS team is growing, and building surveying will always be an important but smaller part of the business.
So that brings us then, let's go right back to the beginning. So obviously you started your life as a building surveyor.
Yeah.
Obviously it says Arcadis on your product. Was that EC Harris at the time?
It was EC Harris.
Yeah.
It was EC Harris 2008, and I can't remember quite when the buyout happened, but it was around the 2011-12 as I was leaving.
Yeah.
It was EC Harris as was.
I've got a lot of time. I've got a lot of. I've been doing this a long time, David. I've got a lot of love for EC Harris as a brand, as a business, and I think they really actually broke the mold in many ways and led the way in what a lot of other businesses became.
They totally did. Yeah. And actually, if I look through my career at some of the best people I've worked with and indeed work with now, EC Harris was the formation of a lot of those great relationships that we've had. So yeah, we've got clients that we work with now who I worked with at EC Harris in 2008. We've got 2 members of the team at Childerstone who were seniors who I reported to and learned from, who've now come to join the business. So it's a great foundation for people's careers. It was a super organisation.
It was a great.
Learned a lot there.
Yeah, great business. Had to know more, which is sad. I think it's one of those names we shouldn't have lost.
Definitely
out of the industry. So you started out as a building surveyor. How long were you a building surveyor before you moved into project management?
Yeah, truthfully, not very long.
Right.
And I suspect some of my colleagues would probably say I wasn't the greatest building surveyor on earth, because I always had my ideas on moving towards the project side. I think.
Okay.
So it was a fantastic grounding. So I did my APC through the building surveying route.
Okay.
It's a sort of great way of becoming a bit of jack of all trades in the industry, and it gave you a good grounding. But probably from quite an early, I don't know, maybe sort of 12 to 18 months in, kind of getting involved in the projects that building surveyors were running, I was like, actually, this seems more interesting than perhaps some of the sort of defects work and condition surveys and all good stuff. But I found myself leaning to the project side, and that just kind of grew through my time at EC Harris. And then as I was looking to leave, it was very much looking to switch to project management roles in full from that point forward.
I guess one of the good ways, I would imagine anyway, about being a building surveyor and when you're on the project side of building surveying is that probably, generally speaking, I would say, building surveyors probably have a limit as to the size of projects they get involved in.
Very much so.
But the great grounding with that is that you would run that project.
Oh yeah.
If you're on the team building the Shard, you're not ever going to get touch anything. So I think the grounding of learning how to manage a project from start to finish, tussle with the contractors, deal with the design team, deal with the client. So there's value in doing a £500,000 refurb, which people might not perceive as very sexy, but actually from a grounding perspective in terms of how you learn the basics of it.
It's huge. Yeah. I think it's if I had a frustration perhaps sometimes with the industry now, it is this kind of clamour to work on as bigger and better stuff as quick as possible. And I kind of think that's great. Everyone wants to have a big trophy project on their CV, and you want to get involved in their fantastic experiences. But I learned much more in my career from early years working on small projects, and even at Childerstone, we touch stuff of really varying scales, but we get our younger members of the team working on some projects sub £1 million, £500,000, 250,000, where we might not have a full design team, and you're working with a contractor who's probably not set up as a big tier 1 or even a tier 2. They're there on a much more granular basis, and you're in the weeds of it, looking at excavations in the ground, looking at steelwork connections, and getting through the detail. And that is where you learn your trade to then take it onto the bigger things when they come. In many respects, the bigger the project, the easier it becomes, because you've got the full team there and providing the
more professional team maybe in some ways.
Absolutely, yeah. So they kind of take you through the project, and as long as you're then just coordinating everyone in the right fashion, you don't have to be quite as in the nuts and bolts. It's not how we like to do it, but it's just, I think, a byproduct of what happens as the teams get bigger and more professional.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I think RLB after Harris.
Yeah, I did 2 brilliant years at RLB. Really enjoyed that organisation. One I'd recommend to any young surveyor. Actually, it was a really good grounding. Worked with some fantastic people and with a couple of great clients, which then led to my next career move. So yeah, it was a great move for me. Really exposed me to different sectors, different industries, different ways of working. Some fantastic people.
Yeah,
and that ultimately led on to my sort of opportunity to go client side, which wouldn't have happened without them. So yeah, I've got a lot to thank for the team at RLB. I was based out of the Welling Garden City office where Andy Reynolds was running the office at the time before he's now moved on to much bigger and greater things. So it was a great office to be in and learned a lot with some really good people.
Yeah, okay. And then, like you say, made a move to what? So what at the time made you make a move to British Land? What was the?
It was really fortunate. At RLB, in the team at the time, we probably had 2 main clients. One was Taylor Wimpey Central London. One was British Land. I happened to work predominantly with British Land. And then, our Taylor Wimpey were our other main client. And I got a phone call one day from one of the development managers at British Land saying a vacancy was coming up and I should probably apply. A good friend of mine worked there as well. So it was kind of one of those moments in life where you just think, okay, well, they've asked me to go for an interview, I probably should. And it wasn't something that, I thought if British Land are calling, telling me to apply, I've got to go for it. And to be honest, I didn't hesitate. I was just like, I've got to go for it. This is a once in a lifetime. This might not come around again. And in truth, I probably thought it was early. I wasn't looking for that next move at the time. I was really enjoying the journey at RLB. I progressed through a couple of levels, was sort of starting to run a small team of PMs on the retail portfolio with BL. I was having a great time. So it actually wasn't on my radar to hop ship and move. But when the opportunity came, I thought I've got to go and see what this is all about. And then, to be fair, you walk into their offices, which I'd been to before, but you go into their offices, meet the team, and you just think, yeah, this sounds incredible. How do I get in here as quick as possible?
Where do I sign?
Yeah, what else do I need to do? So yeah, that was kind of how the move came about. And then it was it didn't take very long from that first meeting, and it all happened very quickly. So that was how the move came around.
And then I think you rose fairly quickly. I apologize, Darren, I'm blank. Is it you led the kind of retail team? Is that right?
Yeah, it was. They kind of split the team into. The development team was split between retail and offices. Okay. And then the retail team, they kind of split the development team into 2, and it was kind of a running joke that I had one of the longest job titles in the company for a while, where, effectively, I got to a place where there were 2 or 3 development managers on the retail team that I kind of worked with closely, and I sort of oversaw the projects on the existing portfolio, and then new build development was being taken care of by another part of the team. So, ran a team of 3 or 4, which... we were delivering projects from Inverness down to Exeter and everywhere in between. So it was a national remit, all their existing retail parks, shopping centres. So it was an all-encompassing, quite varied role, which, a lot of travel for a few years. But it was good fun. I had a lot of great fun there.
And whilst at British Land, you were still living down south?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, lived down south until probably maybe the last 12 months.
Really?
Of time at British Land, and then made the move up north to Yorkshire, maybe 6 to 12 months before I left BL.
Okay, sorry.
And at the time there was probably more development happening on the north and Scotland end of the BL portfolio. Okay. So actually moving halfway up the country
made some sense. Yeah,
sort of didn't actually work out too badly because I spent half my time travelling up to Yorkshire and Scotland anyway. So that worked out quite well. And then that's when the sort of move started to come about, because actually the role with BL started to become more office based, and that commute then started to become a bit more of a challenge 5 days a week.
Okay. And so, some would say that's a big step, leaving something like a British Land, like a lot of people. I often joke that if I had £1 for every time a project manager asked me if I had a client-side role, I'd be better off than what I do in recruitment fees. So many people would perceive that as a perfect job. I think there's often a different reality. I think genuinely a lot of my conversation with people is I think people think you can probably earn more money if you go client side, but also that, you know, frankly, kind of less shit rolls downhill. And I think far from it. I think probably some people in a PM or a DM role within client side roles probably guard the consultancies from a lot of the lot of the pressure that may exist.
It's interesting how different people have different perceptions of what the client side role is and isn't, and it's not for everyone by any stretch.
No.
And there's, you know, sort of think back to, you know, my times at British Land. We worked with some fantastic external consultants who I'm still in touch with now, and work with a couple in the business. And there's some fantastic PMs there delivering brilliant projects. They would not make great development managers inside in a client role for various reasons. Some of them would be, and they'd be brilliant, but others you just go, actually, you're in your sweet spot. This is where you're really excelling.
Yeah.
The move internally isn't for everyone, and there's lots of aspects to it which I think are not. You do step further and further away from the project day to day. So, yeah, client side is fantastic, but actually, if you are one of those people that loves the day to day of going out on site, getting stuck in, meeting the contractors, you can still do that in a client role for sure, and lots of clients do it and do it successfully, but it is harder. By default, you do get moved into a more strategic oversight role.
Yes.
And yeah, a tremendous amount of internal strategizing and politics, dare I say, at times as well, that you then have to kind of filter out before it goes out to the external consultants to deliver. So yeah, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So you returned to consultancy for a short while, and then
yes, I did. Yeah, I left BL and joined CPC.
Yeah,
did a couple of years there. As you say, the move to leave a client-side role is a kind of big one, and I pondered long and hard whether it was what I wanted to do. And probably for 6 to 12 months, I was kind of looking back at consultancy, thinking, actually, there's probably a happy middle ground here where I can deliver projects, but also grow a team and kind of get the best of both worlds. There was a bit of a concern there, I suppose, that, you know, am I looking back at this through rose-tinted spectacles on what it used to be like, and actually, when I go back, I really won't like this at all. So there was a bit of nervousness and a bit of trepidation. I knew the CPC team from my time at BL. So it's kind of how the move came around. Went there for a couple of years before deciding to do my own thing.
So what point in your head, David, did that I'm going to set up my own business start to come? What, you know, how long was that in your head before you chose to do it?
Truthfully, I'm not sure. It wasn't there when I was leaving British Land.
Okay.
There was maybe a brief thought process of it, or I could go and do this on my own. But I think at the time there was also that question of, am I definitely making the right move? And I was always very conscious that if you actually went and set up your own business, start creating and driving your own relationships, doing all those things, that actually, if you do that and then decide it's not for you, a lot of people have put their eggs in their basket behind you. It wouldn't be great to then go, actually, sorry chaps, I changed my mind, I'm going back to a client role. So I was conscious I didn't want to do that. And to be honest, I didn't really have the motivation at the time to run a business. It was more focused on how do I get back to running projects, managing teams, getting a bit closer to the detail. And yeah, the CPC opportunity came around, and it was probably a couple of years into that. I mean, I worked there through COVID, out the back end of COVID, so probably not the most easy of times to sort of grow a team, but we grew a team quite successfully. It went quite well, and I guess it was one of those moments where I just thought, I'm on a journey here. Am I being true to them more than anything else? If I sit this through for another 5-6 years, and the opportunities there to get around the equity table were there. You could see the progression. Other people had done it in the business, but actually I saw myself kind of running my own business, not being one of 10 or 12 people around a table making decisions. I thought, actually, I kind of want to do my own thing. And that's, nothing against them at all. Very successful business, and good luck to them. But it was just more, I want to do my own thing. And that became a bit more of a realization. And to be honest, we had a few client relationships where, you know, it all came around from sitting, talking to those guys, and a few people start chipping away at you of, why haven't you done this for yourself? And then you start to think about it a bit more. So it was probably over a kind of 6-month period that I was just like, actually, that's not such a bad idea. And that's where it kind of all started from.
Amazing. So was it initially straight in Leeds? I presume was Leeds the first office?
To start with, we kind of didn't go with an office.
Right.
We registered ourselves in London, so we'd be a London-based business. We had one of my colleagues, Pete, with us from the start, before he's now gone off into client-side roles. So Pete came with me when we set up. He was London-based. I was based up in Leeds. We came down to London to see clients when it was necessary. Otherwise, I did the first few months probably more based from home.
Right.
And we were just in town when we needed to see people or out on site. And we were fortunate. It moved quite quickly. So, it was not long till we were, needing desks.
Right, brilliant. Excellent, good. And so which office came first?
London came first.
Right, okay, yeah.
And we grew the team in London to probably 6 or 7 before we employed Dan up in Leeds, who joined us from another consultancy up in Leeds. He joined us to kind of set Leeds going properly and start actually trying to grow the team there, and he's now turned that into a team of probably a dozen. And we've moved office in Leeds, I think, 3 times now, but we've now found our proper home, so we're in a cracking office on King Street, if you know it. So a couple of floors above Arcadis. can't get away from the career
circle.
follows you around. So we're now up on the 4th floor in there, and it's cracking space. It gives us room to grow over the next few years. So that we've kind of found our home. But I guess when you're a new business, you should go through that spell of flex workspace in like a sort of TOG building, and then you move to a small building on the Kirkstall Road, which isn't particularly great, but it kind of gives you a platform of 3-4 desks. So it's just been nice to go on that journey through it. But we've now found our home, hopefully for the foreseeable.
Good, excellent. So, and then when was Bristol dictated by client demand? Why did you open Bristol?
We'd always had a good pipeline of work in Southwest Wales, that kind of M4, M5 corridor up to Birmingham. Don't know why. It just has been the way of the world. And it was normally kind of retail and industrial clients that were taking us out that way. Yeah. I had an old colleague, Tom Lewis, who's now with us at Childerstone. He was client side at Cubex, who we were doing a lot of work for. Okay. We were approaching people in Bristol to open a Bristol office for us, and through various circumstances, he actually suddenly phoned me up, put his hand up and said, I could come and do this for you. And that kind of then led us to accelerating the Bristol office a bit quicker. So it's something we were looking to do just by pure fact of where our geographies were. And then, Tom stuck his hand up when he knew we were looking for people in the region. And, he joined us back in May. And we had another Tom join us at the same time. And they're now growing that quite successfully. So, we've never sort of set out to say we must have offices in certain locations. We kind of very much follow the work, or when we think there's opportunity, let's try and do a deal and make it happen.
Good. The Bristol market's an interesting one. It's right for somebody to come in and take. There's a couple of really good players in Bristol, but not many. I've always thought, it's a good business in Bristol. You can grab hold of it.
That's the feedback we were always getting, and we'd kind of worked with a few consultancies down there who were all telling us the same thing. And there's a couple of QSs we've done a lot of work with out that way. A couple of guys from Rowan Short, really good small business, and they were telling us the same thing. They were just like, there's room for another PM firm for sure. And all of our clients, everyone's been telling us down there's really good firms. There's 2 or 3 really good big ones, but there's definitely room for a bit more. So we thought, why not? We'll give it a go.
Good.
So we'll see where it ends up. But so far, so good. That will probably be a team of 5 or 6 by the end of the year.
Amazing.
And then we'll see where it gets to.
And no plans to go across the Pennines?
Well, I didn't know what. Never say never. I've always thought that market's quite a tricky one to crack and get into. So I think if we are to go over the Pennines, it will be definitely person led. I think, and that, to be honest, is how we'll look at most locations. If we find the right person that we think can open an office for us and have a crack in the local market, then we'll give it a go. That's kind of what we're here for.
That's how many great consultancies have grown their office network, is that there's an opportunity or a client says, we need you in this region, and there's something, something where you got some degree of secured fee.
Totally. And we've got some projects on the go, some on site, some in planning over sort of towards Manchester way and along the M62. So we've got stuff happening over there. So it's not inconceivable that we could find someone to start taking that and driving it full. We've got some good clients based over that way, and some clients looking at stuff in Manchester. So we've kind of toyed with it. We'll wait and see. If the right person comes along and says, well, I think we can do it, great, we'll do it. Good.
So what's the plan down for the business? Let's say, fast forward 5 years. So you're about 30 head, correct?
Yeah, that's about right. Yep.
And what's the plan? do you think? Where do you see the business going?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to this has probably changed a few times over the last couple of years, if I'm honest. But one fundamental principle probably stays the same, in that I've worked in progressively smaller organisations all the way through my career.
Right.
And they've always got smaller. And the reason for that predominantly is I want Childerstone to be a place that people come to work, really enjoy it, feel they get the opportunities, can grow, can develop. But we actually stay the size of business where everyone knows each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's really key. So almost the business, once it reaches a size where I walk into an office and don't recognise someone, or I don't know their family or what's going on in their lives, that's sort of the moment for me where I know it will have got too big. So, I could tell you who's getting married this year, who's expecting children, all those wonderful life things which are really important to people. I can tell you that about all of our team. The day that isn't the case, it's got too big. So at the moment, our plan is probably roughly somewhere around the 70, 80 mark, I think is probably, I think once you get bigger than that, you've gone too far. I don't think it's possible to have that relationship with everyone if you've gone beyond that. So we'll probably kind of aim to get towards that sort of size over the next few years, but we're not in a race for growth. We're not saying we'll sit here and do it in 2 years. We're very much going to be opportunity led, see where clients take us. We don't want 50 clients that we're then spinning plates on either. So we want to keep it all pretty tight in terms of who we're working with, how we're working together, where the opportunities present. We'll try and grow to that size.
There's a lot to be said for enjoying the journey. I think if you're hell-bent on growth, you'd get to a point where you don't enjoy the journey.
Yeah, totally.
So I think enjoying the journey is a massively important one.
Hugely. And I think the industry's lost a lot of good businesses in that sort of size. Yeah. And there's been quite a few articles recently. I think maybe even you did some analysis on actually the sizes of companies in the building magazine listed in the top 50, and actually the numbers that are sort of sub 100 but higher than 50 have almost disappeared. And there's lots of great new businesses coming through that are still in the 5 to 20 people. It'll be interesting to see how they progress, because I think a lot of the good businesses around that sort of 80, 100, 150 people, they've just been bought and disappeared and been amalgamated into other things. So I think there's definitely a sweet spot there that's still missing.
I think there's an interesting, again, just looking at it and analysing it further, there's an interesting point that when you get to 100, everything, there's probably someone who's an economist, there's probably some kind of data out there. But when you seem to get to 100, it becomes very difficult to crack over 100.
Yeah, all the more reason not to do it.
Well, I think
that's
so.
That's kind of my view, and I think there's probably a similar bump in the road roughly around where we are now, about the 30 mark. There appear to be several milestones where you sort of reach that size where you go, probably need a bit more overhead and a bit more kind of centralised functions.
Well, your cost stepped up. Let's say you get to a point where you might have to consider bringing a full-time HR person in, or a full marketing person. It's all these costs. I always reference this. I heard it years ago, and it's like, I think it's brilliant. It's like it's when you're trying to, everything changed when you try and treble. So when you're one person, you just look after yourself. When it's 3 people, you got to have a bit more thought about it. When it's 10 people, some things change. When it's 30 people, to get to that thing change. But then to get from 30 to 90, you've got to break the model and start again in many ways.
Absolutely.
You've got to be a different business.
If I look at where we were 12 months ago, we were 13 or 14. We're now sitting at 30 yards. And that business is very different from what it was then. And actually, we spent quite a lot of time over the last couple of months looking at, well, what's the next 2-3 years look like? Let's kind of be ready for the end game. I got some great advice from one of the partners at Montague Evans, actually, before I set the business up. He'd run his own business for many, many years, and he just said to me, whatever you think your business plan is, he went, please prepare one that goes much more successfully. He's like, because you will be so conservative in your first business plan, because you'll just think, well, I've got to make sure we make enough to pay the mortgage. He's like, in your head, you'll go through like all the things you need to cover off just to survive. He's like, I promise you that's not how this will go. He's like, so please just have a plan ready. So, which we didn't, obviously, because we took the advice and then ignored it, and then quite quickly realised he was correct. So, so we actually do now spend quite a bit of time when we look at our business plan for the year. It's kind of, right, what do we do if we actually start outperforming that? Like, what is the plan? So we now do kind of have an overall structure and strategy in place that hopefully takes us on the journey for the next few years of growth. So we're sort of ready in our heads for what might come next, which I think is, it's important.
Some of the danger is you can be a victim of your own success, because at the end of the day, you can say, I don't want to grow beyond this number. But if you do an exceptional job for clients and the clients say, we want to give you this extra work, what are you going to do? Well, no, I don't want it.
And to be honest, this is probably what shapes the journey so far and why the original plan has probably varied a little bit. Originally, I probably didn't see us getting bigger than 30 to 40.
Okay.
We've probably reached the size I thought we would want to be.
Yeah.
But actually, we've probably got, I'd say 10 really core great clients that we do a lot with. Those clients have been very good to us. We really value the work they've given us, but could all of them give us 10% more? Probably.
Yeah.
So my view has always been, if we can keep the core nucleus of kind of clients and team going, and we get those relationships right, let's just go on the journey with those clients. We've worked with some cracking organisations, some of whom are quite new themselves, and less than 5 years old, and we've been almost involved step by step on their journey as we're growing, and we can see them getting bigger and recruiting and doing more stuff, and we're supporting them on those journeys. And you just kind of think, let's just see where this takes us. So it's a good. The journey's fun. You've got to enjoy it. So you just got to be ready for it.
I think that's it. I think it's a big part of what we do as business owners. If you start waking up on, don't get me wrong, some days are shit days out there. It's being a business owner.
Totally.
There's always fires to fight, but if you start getting up and you have a succession of days where every day is like, I don't want to do this, then you need to recognise that
you need to do something else.
This isn't making me happy anymore. Just like, how do I adjust this?
Totally. And I guess that comes back to one of the ethoses of why I wanted to do it. I want people to enjoy coming in. And it's quite a basic principle, but if you don't enjoy coming into work, do something else. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you need to find something else to do. And all you need to work out is it the business you're in, or is it the industry you're in? And if you're not enjoying it, answer that question and then try and do something else. So for me, I love what we do. Yeah, definitely some days where you just go, what are we doing this for? And it's normally the things that are outside of your control. And it's processes that are, the most frustrating processes are the ones that actually are nothing to do with you. Because generally I tend to find you can't get too anxious or frustrated about something that's within your control, because you can just sort it. It's the stuff that's outside your control. Home office visa application processes and all those sort of good things which just drag time, energy, effort and emotion. They're the things that you can't control, but you just have to accept a part of the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's it. You control the controllables, as I say. That's what you can do at the end of the day.
Yep.
So of that 30-ish headcount, how many of those are fee earners versus support admin?
We have got 3 in support admin functions. Yes, we've got Laura, who I've worked with for years. I mean, we worked together first at RLB, and then we came back together at CPC. She's sort of quasi EA, but really more ops manager. I mean, she kind of runs the business if I'm not there. So an integral part. We've got Emma, who works in our finance team, who's been a godsend since she arrived. Then we've got Alice in marketing, which we kind of went quite early with marketing, but actually the amount of time our fee earners were spending trying to get bid documents to look good, preparing presentation reports, I was like, this is a nonsense. And she's come in as a complete breath of fresh air. She's so good at it that you kind of go, everyone should do this so much earlier in the process, because
100%.
It just totally transforms your output, how you come across your business, how the brand is represented. Even when we did the office move, she basically ran the whole office move for us. I mean, this is incredible. But it actually, we now have a brand book for what our offices look like. So that was something I wish I'd done 12 months before, to be honest. But
I think a lot of people don't. It's almost one of those underappreciated roles is marketing.
Totally.
You could obviously you've got some great clients, which is amazing, and often a lot of it is off word of mouth. Having said that, you could be the best at what you do in whatever industry you're in, but if people don't know you exist,
totally.
So yeah, I'm fully on that train now about marketing and brand. It's so important.
And to be honest, if you start to look at things just through your kind of data marketing lens, the average dwell time on your website is less than a minute. And I thought back to my own client side days. If a consultancy reached out to us saying, do you mind if we come in and pitch and see you? You'd probably get 2 or 3 of those emails a week saying, we'd love to come and pitch to you guys. The first thing you do is look on the website and go, do they look any good? What projects have they worked on? Is the website professional? And that was kind of your first reference point. And yeah, you weren't on it for very long. So once you actually start to realise people don't interact with your brand, particularly for very long, you want to make it count. So yeah, we put quite a lot of effort into sort of getting the website right, the LinkedIn right, just getting the social media content good so that people actually just look at it and buy into it, because you don't have people's attention span for long these days.
No.
So it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah,
really key.
good. So, what mistakes have you made? Is there anything you'd say? Look, it's a learning. It's setting up your own business is a learning curve, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
You don't get everything right.
No, I mean, there's probably mistakes every day, and you've just got to own them, really.
Yeah,
I think most of our mistakes, thankfully, we've not made any absolute clangers that have really cost us. That's the main thing. I guess some of the mistakes, our biggest asset is people.
Yeah.
And always will be. And probably most of our mistakes in some ways relate to people, and normally because of ourselves.
Yeah.
So thankfully, all the recruitment we've done has largely been very successful. There's only once or twice we've possibly got it a bit wrong, and that was probably wrong for the candidate, not necessarily for us. When it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you kind of have to accept that and move on.
Yeah.
There have probably been times where we've tried to make things work for too long, where actually an honest conversation earlier in the process, just to go, this isn't the role you were expecting, this isn't working out how we were expecting. We definitely should have done that quicker a few times. Yeah. Been told many times, take time to hire and be quick to fire. And you don't want to be the business that fires people, but if it isn't working, you've got to be able to have those honest conversations.
It's not going to. It's very unlikely that individual is going to change, or you're going to change fundamentally. So
we're a small business, and we always say to people when they join, well, not when they join, in the recruitment process, it's probably the first thing I always try and say to people. Like, we're a small business. There are going to be some weeks where this is really hard, where we're all just like pedal to the metal and we have to go.
Yeah.
There will be weeks where there might be a little dip, and in that dip, take time, recoup. Make the most of the peaks and the troughs when they come. So if we have people working flat out at month end, getting all the progress reports out, doing all the good stuff that we do, and the hours are long, if the week after it's a little bit quieter and people have walked the dog or gone and got their hair done and whatever they've done, that's cool. That's what it's about. But you've got to be prepared to put the effort in and the hours in when it's needed.
100%.
And you have to own projects in a different way in a small business than when you're in a big consultancy. If you're going on holiday in a big consultancy, you just go, oh, so-and-so is going to cover, and you just flim-flam it off. Doesn't work in our business. No. You have to own it. And you go on holiday, you have your break, you do your rest. But if you haven't teed up everything to run like clockwork while you're off and left really clear notes for someone to be able to just light touch, push it through, it falls apart. So, we've probably made mistakes a couple of times there. And then we've probably not hired quick enough,
right?
Which might sound daft given how quickly we have grown in some respects. But actually, we've quite often held off recruitment, or we've kind of left it for 2 or 3 months. And then, when I get sort of messages from people going, oh, blimey, there's another new starter this week. And it happens because we've had sort of peaks and troughs where actually we end up having like 6 new people in a month. Terrible. Awful. Like, it's really hard to manage. It's really hard to do. And it's really hard for the candidate joining, because they also then don't get the attention and the focus that they should. So we've definitely made mistakes on that. So if you do watch it, guys, sorry. But like that has been a big learning curve, and we are now really trying to iron out kind of how we bring people in and be a bit more steady about it through the year. But at the same time, I'm also conscious most people seem to choose that they want to leave a job at a few windows in a year. It seems to be like, come back in January, hate it, don't get a bonus at the end of the year, hate it. There's probably only 2 or 3 key months in a year that people decide they're leaving.
I often joke that what I do for a living is I'm busiest when everyone else is least happy in life.
And it's true, I'm sure.
It's always our first 2 or 3 months of the year are always our busiest month in terms of new candidates coming to us.
Totally.
The summer's always our slowest period because even if the boss is an idiot, it's like, oh, sorry, I've got a barbecue tonight. I'm having a few beers in the garden. It's all life's all right.
Exactly.
And then they come back in September. It's like, all right, this is a drag game. Right, I might look. So there's definitely
it's totally right.
We always find there's certain times that we more happens. I think what I'm saying to a lot of clients at the moment, because it's so hard to find good people, I believe, and that pool is getting smaller across all the core disciplines. There's a lot of people retiring. We're not having people coming into the industry. Certainly, in particular, the QS cost discipline is so globally mobile. British QSs are highly sought after individuals now, and you can double, treble your salary by moving to Saudi or the US. Is that if you see somebody good, just go for them because
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. And that's kind of the view we've always taken. And the way we work with recruiters so far reasonably successfully is if you find someone that you think is just brilliant for our business, send them over and we will try and make it work. Because with good people, you get work.
Yeah.
And actually, the more we introduce good people to clients, the more work they give us. It's a really simple metric. Right? And we can hugely overcomplicate our industry. And it's actually really simple. Like, good people get projects. And if they deliver them well,
100%.
you get more work. And it's really as simple
It's
as that.
amazing how many consultancies don't get that simple logic.
But that's all it is. We're not,
it really is simple, isn't it?
We're not doing anything complicated here. We're not surgeons saving lives or doing anything like that. That's proper stressful stuff.
Yeah.
We're helping people put buildings up.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we do a good job, we'll do some more.
Yeah. Nobody died today on your shift. So
Exactly. And I think it's really important to keep that kind of mentality. And I do sometimes say to the team, we're not saving lives here today. So no matter what happens, it's fine. Like, you're going to go home, you'll come back tomorrow, we're all good. Loads of people in the world don't have that privilege. So let's just try and keep some perspective on what we're doing. But yeah, good people are harder and harder to come by. I had a chat with one of the universities not that long ago. I won't say which one. That intake numbers for next year are horrendously low. Like, single digit enrolment on a building surveying course.
Yeah.
And you sort of think, right, well, if that's one of the major universities in a large city in the UK, like, those 10 people will find a job straight away. What does everyone else do? So it's getting really, really hard. And I think, to be honest, the answer for us at the moment, we're putting more of a push on apprentices.
Yeah. It's the way forward.
And it is. And because more and more 18-year-olds are coming to us, just approaching us direct, saying, I do want to do a university degree, but I don't want to go and spend all the money for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. And we've got one apprentice in Leeds, Rowan, who's brilliant, brilliant, unbelievable work ethic and commitment. And we see that a lot more, actually, in that age group than perhaps even some of the graduate recruitment tends to be a bit harder, because you just don't see quite that same desire to get into the working world for some reason.
I think it's all these cycles, and obviously I don't want to kind of diss a whole generation, but it's like, I do believe that, like, I've got two daughters who are 15 and 17, and I do believe that they're going to be the next future again. I do believe it that we've been through this cycle. It's there's that, I'm butchered to saying about hard times make hard men, so hard men make soft time. Blah, blah, and it goes so that. Yeah. So there's this cycle we always go through. I think there is, and then I just think societally we sort of fail people at times. So we worked through COVID, and the people who worked through COVID, I think, sit there and kind of go, well, we'd worked through recessions, we'd worked through other things, we're a bit more resilient. I can't even imagine what it would be like as a young adult of 18 to 21, or frankly anywhere around that age group, 18, 19,
just being stuck at home.
Horrendous. I feel genuinely sorry for them.
It would be awful, and a lot of them have missed out on really key years of social interaction. Have we done anything to support that group? Probably not. We will just sit here and tell them to get on with it and toughen up and get out there a bit. And actually, there probably is a need for, how do we integrate some of those people back in on, like, years of missed out learning and observation. The first years of my career, when I was 21, it was a different era altogether, but you learn so much from going in the office every day, listening to everyone on the phone, talking to people, being in meetings, interacting, going to the pub. Yeah. You take all that away from people. That's a huge number of years of not learning stuff, And
on a mailer, and I say, obviously different people have different opinions about this. I would say generally, majority of my clients, and I would say the majority of the industry, full stop, is moving towards we want people back in the office. And I think, but for not necessarily the wrong reasons, the right reasons, in terms of, like, culture, camaraderie, learning, development, all these really important bits. Yeah. And I do worry that people sat literally, obviously through COVID, and it's still being perpetuated by certain consultancies, where people are 22, 23, you're already sat in the home most of the time. And it's because, like you say, of COVID and the impacts of COVID. And I think that, some people have been genuinely affected by it, almost are reluctant to come into the office, feel kind of claustrophobic about coming into the office. But we've got to try and support people to, this is not helping you. It's probably making you potentially worse in some ways.
Definitely. It's an interesting, I don't know how you solve these things. If I did, I'd be wealthy. But for me, it's not about being in an office for being in an office's sake. Like, that's pointless. I mean, the ethos we kind of carry with our teams is, before COVID, there weren't any rules. Like you kind of went to the office, you did your job, you'd go on site, and if you went on a site visit in the afternoon and your house was nearer afterwards, you kind of just went home and you wrote your report up. If you had a report to get out, and actually what you really wanted to do was just shut yourself away, you just turn around to whoever you reported to and go, do you mind if I work from home tomorrow? Just want to get this report out and I'll send it to you at the end of the day. That was the norm. And no one really batted an eyelid about it. And then like the whole COVID working from home thing all came around, and then people want to put a framework on it. So whenever we interview, or even recruiters, they kind of go, what's your working from home flex working policy? Well, we don't have one. We have a contract that says you're in the office 5 days a week. Are people in the office 5 days a week? Nope. Nope, they're not. And that's okay, so long as they're getting their work done. They can go and sit at the top of a mountain range if they want, so long as they get the output out. And as long as we're delivering, I sort of don't really mind where people are, to a degree. I think the younger you are in your career, the more benefit you get out from being in.
We all learn by osmosis.
And what can be a 5-second conversation in an office, you might stew at home about for half an hour, writing an email, redrafting it, coming up with another way of writing it, asking someone else's opinion, and then sending it. And you just think, that could have been a 10-second, what do you think of this? And we're much better as a business for being in than being at home, for sure. So we will always push for everyone to want to be in, but it's about wanting to be in rather than having to be in. So we've kind of created a company where I think, predominantly everyone really gets on pretty well. They all enjoy each other's company. Coming in is not a chore. At the moment, we need a bigger office, so we're moving in April, so we can't actually get everyone in at the moment. So, but when we have everyone together, just the atmosphere of how they come together, solve problems in the office is just so much more efficient than messaging each other and emails and stuff. But there's a time and a place for both.
But it's also top-down leadership, isn't it? I'm already getting the impression, sat with you, David, the first time me and you have met, is that, like, obviously you're successful, you're growing a business, but you seem pretty relaxed, and it's like, you're not...
Yeah. What's that thing with the duck, like underwater? I try not to stress too much. I try. Don't get me wrong, I get it wrong. My wife will tell me I stress, but and I do. But I stress about the things that perhaps other people don't. So I get stressed more about people things than I do projects. I think, projects are what they are. We think we're quite good at them, and we like to do them well. Don't get me wrong. You get problems on projects, and you want to fix them, and they can keep you up at night thinking you've got problems to solve. That's totally normal. But we're not in a world of creating stress. We should be removing stress. Like when we go and see clients, they don't want to see you frantically like flicking through a book, trying to find your way to the right page and creating mayhem. They want to know that you're just in control and the process is being followed. And it all comes down to, if you just understand your clients' objectives and projects properly, there's actually nothing to get too stressed about. Don't be a postbox, but just understand where the value's created and then try and add some value. And then that's kind of how it rolls.
Yeah, cool. So that just gave me another thought to ask you. So 30 people, what, I appreciate your weeks will vary.
Yep.
But have you got to the point now, David, in terms of day-to-day managing projects where you're off the tools now, or are you still utilised to a certain percentage?
No, I'm very much still on the tools. Yeah. Always will be to a point. But probably not on the tools in the same way as I was 4 years ago when it was just me and Pete, or even when it was 7 of us. But I still see clients every week. I've always had the view that if my phone rings from a client and they've got a problem, I want to know enough about it to be able to have that conversation. So I keep in touch with all of our projects to a degree, like some less than others, granted, and we've got other senior people who run accounts and do good stuff. But I'm on the tools every day to some capacity, which I think is really important. Partly, as we've been talking about, the team need to understand how things come together. So, the team need to be able to approach me and go, what do you think about this? How do we do that? I've drafted this out. Is that right? So you've kind of got to stay involved to that level. And to be blunt, I guess clients have come and back to Childerstone largely as a result of relationships I've had. And now what is growing, the more senior hires that we make and the more relationships grow, clients are coming because of those other people. But for the first 2 years, it was probably people I knew. And then when Dan joined us, a few more people came that knew Dan, and then that's kind of then just exponentially carried on. But a lot of them are still people I know, would count as friends. They will ring me if there's something they want to talk about, or if there's a new opportunity, I might still get the phone call, which is, "Have we got a new job for you? Who's going to pick it up?" And that's kind of the way I always want it to be.
Ditto. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm back into a bigger consultancy or a bigger organisation, managing spreadsheets and numbers and strategizing and not doing what I'm doing. So it kind of comes back to that whole fundamental principle of, why did I do my own thing? Just stay closer to projects. I stay as involved as I can be.
And this seems to be the new evolution, I think, of a lot of SME consultancies, like director-led projects. Yes, you might not be doing it day to day, but you're still in there, and a lot of clients clearly want that.
It's a big thing for us. Like, don't get me wrong, we have some projects maybe on the smaller end where, yes, it's being run by more junior members of the team. Still being checked in on by one of the directors at any point. There's no one off doing their own thing without it being checked. But I would say we have a director involved in 90% of our projects day to day. And then we have the team who are all very competent, capable, energetic, enthusiastic, all those great things, trying to kick us out the door as if they don't need us, which is great. And I kind of want them to keep doing that. So, we'll always stay involved. And I guess it's the downfall of many consultancy businesses. And it's probably why, when I was leaving BL to join CPC, I just looked at loads of consultants and thought, I could do this better myself.
Right,
partners come in, big pitch, disappear, never see them again, and the kids come in. And it's a bit of a cliche, but it's so true. So we just try not to do that. It's not what they're paying you for.
No,
so,
no, I'm sure not.
Just turn up, do your job.
Yeah, brilliant, good, excellent. What are you using in the business, and what's your attitude around kind of tech, future of the industry?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? We use, at the moment, I would say we use kind of tech and AI more on our operations side than we do the day-to-day delivery. Its impact on the business, on the industry, is going to be huge.
Yes.
There's no denying that. Is it going to replace us? No. Is it going to do anything daft like that? No, not in a million years. Our industry still comes back to some simple principles because we're human beings. And every time I go and see a client, at no point have they turned around and just gone, well, the data says this. It's always, I'm employing you, what's your opinion?
Okay.
And I don't see that ever changing. Now, the data and the AI will give us better information to form opinions on.
Yes.
And then that, I think, is where it's going to be incredibly useful. Yeah. Is it there yet? No. Don't get me wrong, we still use AI tools and things to try and chuck out cost plans every now and then just to see what accuracy it comes up with. And it's never correct.
No.
Never.
It won't be.
So, and it won't be for years. But there are tools and things that are coming that you sort of look at and you go, okay, that's got some potential, that's got some legs. So we're very much in the phase of, we've tested a few products and apps and different softwares. None of them yet have produced something where I've gone, right, this fundamentally changes how we do day to day. There are sort of platforms we're using much more on the operations side of tracking finances of projects, and actually all of our revenue invoicing systems, all of that is now run through automation and tech platforms.
So what are you using for that, out of interest?
So we're using apps like Airtable, which are just a really simple app, but actually amazing.
Yeah.
So we're using Airtable to drive a lot of our stuff. Using Power Automate. We've had some Power Automate processes built for us. We should be getting a few more done later this year, which will actually start saving down all the PDFs we receive as a company into the right folders and all that sort of good stuff. So we're looking at all those things.
Yeah.
And
none of this is even AI. This is all just automation.
This is just automation stuff.
For a long time,
it's all just there. So that for us is actually the starting point, because a lot of the AI tools are very bespoke and very specific. I think the ones for me that look most exciting are the ones that are churning out initial development appraisals.
Right. Yeah.
There's some really good stuff coming in that space where, you're dropping a site plan in, asking it to come up with the best configuration of massing, height, scale, density, and it's spitting out costs. Now, some of those are actually getting pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, you've still got to take the data, manipulate it, correct it. Yeah. So I don't think it's ever going to change our involvement. It might make things just a lot more efficient, is my suspicion.
I think that was what I was going to ask you, is do you think it's going to make it more efficient? Do you think that, let's say at some point, what would have taken, say, 5 people to do the work of, could 2 people do the work in the future?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it. I don't like to look at it as does it reduce the amount of time that you need people for. I try and look at it and go, could it allow us to do 10 things in a day instead of 5? Because I think everyone's biggest fear of AI, which will make it the biggest reason we don't do it, is job losses.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you start introducing too much AI, people are going to sit there and go, am I even needed here? So actually, for me, the journey with AI will never be, does this mean we can get rid of half the team? Or can we remove some functions we don't need anymore? But it's actually, can we get more output from the same fewer numbers?
But do you think at some point it might not necessarily get rid of the team, but do you think at some point it might slow down recruitment? Is maybe the question in terms of
probably not. It's a talent poor industry already.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
So the drive and need for talent is only going to get worse or better depending on your viewpoint. But I don't see it necessarily slowing down recruitment particularly. I think businesses that don't engage in it at all are in trouble.
Yes, again.
But I think there's also businesses that have gone way too far the other way and are relying on it for far too much. And
a lot of those are realising, we're fucked up here, and
like we've kind of been here before with loads of other platforms before AI, when businesses spend millions introducing amazing platform. I won't name them, but there's lots of consultants run on enormous big platforms which they spend millions of pounds on, and they're never particularly efficient. They're always very clunky. But I think there is a danger of investing way too much in stuff that doesn't work. So I'm all about us trialing stuff. Let's not go crazy on first mover advantage stuff. We can be a second quick follower. Once someone finds something really good, we'll move quick and come in off the back of it. But we don't need to invest loads of time and money on trying to make those things or be the first person to find the next big platform. We'll just bide our time, stay involved. We've got an AI working group in the office. We'll just keep going with that until we find stuff that really makes our lives more efficient.
I think so. What you said there, and I had a minute ago, David, a lot of what you're looking at, and this is what there's a whole mishmash of what it all means at the moment. And actually, there's a lot of people now, there's a lot of snake oil salesmen who are selling stuff as AI, and it's not AI at all. It's just really clever automation that's existed for 10 years, if not longer.
Yeah, and they're just putting an interface over the top.
Yeah,
actually, I really don't need that. So we've been fortunate in that a couple of team members have had people who work in tech who've kind of helped us build these things using tools that have existed for years. And that's really improved how we're operating as a business. We've gone from manually writing out invoice instructions and raising invoices for 2-3 days to click a button, it's done. And yes, Emma has to spend a couple of hours going through it, validating it, but that's 2-3 hours work, not 3 days. So there's things there that definitely make us more efficient, and long may that continue. Hopefully there's lots more of those innovations as time progresses.
Yeah, but I do share your sentiment. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, so I do think things are going to change. I believe that a lot of these tools are still in their infancy, but they're gathering a lot of pace. It'd be you at least need to be curious about it all and be looking at it, I think. So,
you'd be mad not to be.
But I think many consultancies, David, are not all. I genuinely think some of the traditional practices.
But it also, it doesn't surprise me. Right? There's a lot of consultants out there just doing the same old. And the world moves quicker than ever. When I started, you didn't have a mobile phone. And then when you did, it was like a big horrible thing that you could just make calls on and nothing else. So I think it's moved quicker and quicker and quicker, and it will only ever move quicker. But I just still always come back to the fundamental of this industry is about people and relationships, and work will only ever come from relationships. So all we can do with AI is use it to make us more efficient and produce better data to analyse and give opinions on, and to manage projects more efficiently. It will never take away that. Why does someone want to work with us? It's not going to be because we've got an AI tool that they don't, or the other way around. So, it's about finding its place in the hierarchy, but where maybe it was bottom of the list 3 years ago. It's getting nearer the top of the list of things that are going to be important.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think certainly with my business, what I want to use tech and AI for is to facilitate me and my team spending more time in front of people, more time not sat at my desk doing some admin stuff that I shouldn't be doing.
And I think that's got to be true of almost every industry with AI. Like if you're in a service world like we are, whether it's recruitment or project management, we're in a service industry where what we do is go and talk to people and then do work.
Yeah.
The more time you can spend out there with people, the better, frankly. It's sort of, that's the bit that slightly then terrifies me working from home. I've never won a job working at home, ever, apart from during COVID. Like apart from that, I've never secured a new instruction sitting in my study at home. It's only getting out there meeting people. So hopefully AI can reduce the amount of time we spend sitting indoors and can increase the amount of time we get out.
Yeah,
because that's got to be for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Good. And so get to that 70, 80 mark. It's quite interesting. There seems to be this buff when you get to this 100 mark, the things start to slow down. If you, where do you, because obviously there's a lot of consolidation in the market. And I think we're going to see a lot of M&A activity in the market. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing for the industry, do you think?
It's a good good thing for the people getting bought.
Yeah.
Good for them, make their money. I'm not sure it's great for the industry generally. No. I think the industry is already short of good consultants in that 50 to 100 bracket. There's a couple of really good ones out there that everyone knows. And then I think it's missing, there's room for dozens of us to fill that void, in my opinion. But I think the M&A activity will hoover a lot of that size of company up. And you've only got to look at the multi-disses who are buying everything that looks slightly profitable after a few years. It's happening a lot already.
Well, not on the flip side of it. There's a lot of, I think, owners of businesses who are, let's say, in their late 50s, 60s, who genuinely are not sure what they're doing next. So it's like, I'm just going to sell because it's easiest.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to get to that point. So you've always got to have, I guess, half an eye on eventually how you might exit.
Yeah.
And certainly when you start getting to that sort of size, we're very much still on the growth journey, not the exit journey. But if you don't have a plan, I think you can quite easily become trapped. And there's lots of great consultants that I've worked with who I know quite well who have established, grown, founders have stayed. Founders are now getting towards retirement. The businesses are starting to sort of shrink a little bit and go the other way. And you just think, if you're not careful, you're going to have created something of real value and worth, and then it's just going to slowly dwindle away and you'll retire. That is a terrible outcome. No, it might be the outcome those people want, and that's great. But
I think one of the big issues for the industry is it's succession planning. And a lot of businesses do it terribly. Yeah. And you see even in some of the biggest consultancies, it's still the same people who are really driving the business, and it's like, and that, I think that's probably in some cases lazy leadership. It's in some cases that the world is kind of changing so far as there's a lot of I think there's a lot of kind of even say 30 odd year olds who would have been that next set of rising stars in terms of directors, partners in businesses, and some of them are going, I don't want this any. I'm looking at my boss who's like, looks like they're killing themselves. It's like, I don't want your job, mate.
I think there's a few things. There's a few things I think that the industry has maybe got wrong over the years. That's before the advent of VOTs and all those wonderful things, which have been very popular recently. But many consultants for many years, if you were progressing up through the ranks, as soon as you started to get towards equity, the discussion came around how much you were going to pay them for a slice. And I've always found that to be a really uncomfortable thing, because I was just like, well, if someone's worked, and this is probably looking through a lens when I was working my way through, going, well, if I've got to that point, why on earth would I want to now buy in? I've just committed X amount of years, earned you all this money. I should just be given it. And that doesn't happen in what I seem to be discovering is most businesses. But bringing someone up through the business to get an equity position should be a journey where they've earned their right to sit at the table, and as long as you don't create any tax complications, they just pick up their equity. Which is what we're doing. So that's the route we want to go. And if people come on the journey with us and earn us money, progress their careers, and achieve all the things they can achieve, they can get a seat at the table where they've got equity, and we don't expect them to turn around and remortgage the house and buy part of it off us, because why should people have to do that? Like, the world's got so much harder than it used to be. People don't have that money lying around.
No, they don't.
And why should they put their whole family livelihood on the lines for probably a very minority stake that takes them 10 years to pay back off?
Yeah.
Like, it's just wrong. So our strategy is grow an amazing team of people who can come into the equity structure where, at some point, hopefully they can, when they've all had enough of me, they can just sort of take me out and do a management buyout, and I move on, and the business carries on without me and forevermore. But who knows what that'll look like when we get there. But the strategy for now is, let's bring people into the equity that I want to own a business with.
What mechanism are you using for that, though? Because is that straightforward in terms of...
It's not straightforward, and we're still working through it at the moment. So, but there are ways and means, which we're now, give us another couple of months and we'll have done our first one. So, there's ways and means of bringing people in.
There's a friend of mine who's done something, I can't recall what the name of it, but I think because it's HMRC, it's got to be compliant with HMRC, but something like he has to give maybe had to give 25% of the business away across multiple people, and so it's cost them nothing. Yeah. It's in effect cost them nothing for it, because I think they just take it off the balance sheet. Yeah. So it's not like an ELT. It's already money sat in the balance sheet in the business. So it's not bringing more debt into the business. It's like it's off the balance sheet. He gets a lump sum tax free, I believe. Yeah. And then they've got 5 years, at which point to in effect pay that back without putting any money in themselves. It's just it's paid back out of profits. Yeah.
There's ways and means, and we're in the middle of various bits of advice on it at the moment. So
but I agree with you.
Just as a principle, it's like that shouldn't be how businesses are operating these days. I just don't see how it's not sustainable. You will always lose talent, and I think if you look at where most consultancies are losing talent now, it's actually, there's a lot of senior people who are not at the top table leaving, setting up their own thing, or moving on where they know they've got an opportunity to actually acquire a stake.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, and it's almost seeming this is why we're probably seeing so much M&A activity, because the reality is you've got a lot of maybe older owners who want to do it a traditional way and say, I need you to buy into this partnership. It's not like, the sums are crazy. If it's whatever, if it's like, I haven't got 500 grand to buy 10% stake in this business.
It's nuts. It just puts people off. And then you see people going out and doing their own thing. Which I think is almost inevitable.
No, fair play. How old are you now, David?
38.
Right, brilliant.
So I have to think about that. So still got a lot of years to go.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that's good. At the end of the day, and you see where that takes you at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And the plan is to do this for a long time, because I've worked in other businesses. I know I'm probably not the best employee, because I like to do things in the way that I kind of want them to be pulled together. So, I can't see a world where I do anything different, to be honest, because we're growing a team of great people. Watching them do amazing things is probably where I get most of my kicks, to be honest.
Amazing.
A lot of our clients now are ex-colleagues who I've worked with or helped in our early years, and they've now gone on client side, started giving us work back. It's a cyclical thing. It's a small group of people, and knowing that our generation that's coming through now, in a few years' time, half of them will have gone off client side and hopefully give us some work back, and it's great. That's kind of what it's all about for me.
Some of what you said earlier about just doing a simple job, hiring good people and doing a good job for clients is easy. Looking after people is easy, because at the end of the day, if you're not a dick and you don't take advantage of people, you just generally, go to bed and be able to say, right, I can put my head on my pillow and I've not fucked anybody over today. That's a bloody good strategy, and a lot of companies just seem to lose track of that.
It's really quite straightforward. Yeah, and you can do lots and lots of things that make you think you need to do lots of strategies and lots of amazing things. But I think it's one of the things we put on our website early days. It was one of the real founding things of just like, if we look after our people, they'll look after our clients. Job done. Yeah. Like, that is it. We create a place they want to work. We help them grow. We help them develop. We help them on their career paths. A big thing for me when we're interviewing people is, I do not expect people to come for an interview at Childerstone going, I want to work here for the next 20 years. Yeah. It's nonsense. Of course they don't. It's not, they want to progress. They just want to crack on. And some will want to go client side. Some will want to go own their own businesses. And
we're going to live in Australia for a while.
And we're kind of here to facilitate that journey. So I don't have a problem with people coming to an interview going, I really want to work client side in a developer role, but the business I'm in isn't giving me the exposure I need. And I need to branch out. And we'll go, great, well, we can put you in front of 5 or 6 brilliant developers. And guess what? If you do a cracking job for 2 years, the phone's going to ring and they're going, sorry, Dave, do you mind if we poach? And it's like, no, crack on. That's the journey. And I know a lot of people don't believe it, but it is true. And I've probably got 4 or 5 clients you could phone up tomorrow and they'll tell you that's the journey they went on with us.
Well, it's the reality, as I often say. Often people say, I want to go work for a developer. And I say, well, the best way is what area of development? Do you want to do commercial development? Right. Well, work for a company who do that. Give it a few years and you'll get tapped on the shoulder. That's just the reality.
It'll come. Yeah. If you're really good at it, that opportunity will present itself. So I think you've got to be open with people about what you think, what they want to do and where you think you can take them, because that's just the reality of life. And
I've never heard any other consultancy business owner ever say that to me. So you're like,
no, I mean that. They all should do it, because it's really liberating when you see someone go on and achieve stuff. I get as much pride out of watching people I've worked with before achieving some amazing things out there in the industry than I do with what we do, and that will be the case for. We got a bunch of superstars in our office, and give them 2 or 3 years, some of them will still be us and we'll be pulling trees up, doing great stuff. Some of them will have gone on to some
different journeys,
some pretty serious development roles, is my expectation. And they're on that journey and I can see it. And when they get there, it's a sort of satisfying thing to know you've been involved in someone else's journey. You get a lot of satisfaction out of that in life, more so than profit and loss at the end of the year.
Yeah,
we're on this earth as humans to all enjoy each other's company and progress. So let's do more of that.
Amazing, David. I've loved our chat. It's been brilliant.
It's been good to come in. Thank you.
I hope you just keep growing the business and doing it like you're saying. Keep having fun every day while you're there doing
it. Absolutely, that's the plan. So thank you very much.
No, pleasure. So I've got 2 more questions before we finish. Who would you say was your? It can be more than one person, but who would you say has been your best mentor throughout your career, or boss, whatever you want to call it?
Ooh, it's great. It's great. I mean, there's been several, to be honest. When I was at EC Harris, there were a lot of good people, a lot of great people that I learned from. Some are in the team now, so Steve and Greg have joined Childerstone. They were really important in those early formative years, and you sort of can't put a price on it at the time. But in terms of then, Anthony Chudley was a great influence in the early years. We ended up at EC Harris, RLB and BL together, all through different circumstances.
Right, okay.
He was, a big influence in the early years. And then RLB, Rob Crombie taught me a lot, who's now at Taylor Wimpey, Central London himself. He taught me a lot about, he was the master of delegation. So I picked up a huge amount of stuff very quickly, which was fantastic for me. But he was always there as a kind of sounding board. So Rob was great. And then at BL in particular, I spent a lot of time with the development team there. So the Dave Pollocks, Paul Cases, just really good, solid sounding boards who I can still pick the phone up to now. I still see them pretty regularly just for how's the business going, what it's doing. They all take a keen interest, and they're always there if we've got questions. So, there's been some really good, solid people. And, once or twice a year, we probably all still go out and meet for lunch and just chew through life. And, they're always there if I need them.
Brilliant. Amazing. And then very last question is, if you were to gift, like somebody maybe starting the entrepreneur journey, if there's a book you would gift somebody, is there a book you'd recommend?
There's loads of good books out there. There's a book called How to Support a Champion.
Right.
Can't tell you who it's written by because I've forgotten. But he was the one of the sports scientists, psychologists with the British Olympic cycling team.
Okay.
And triathlon and heptathlon, I think. But he'd done a lot of work with Chris Hoy and Jess Ennis-Hill.
Right.
I saw him give a talk at Warwick University when I did my MBA, and he was so powerful in his talk that I read his book. And it's all about sports science. There's very little to do with business
but there's tremendous overlap between the two.
So there's kind of no business chat. There's nothing about profit and loss and how do you set objectives. None of that. But it's just how do you make small improvements to someone's performance to get a lot more oust them. And in that book, it was daft things like, lifting Chris Hoy's saddle by 1/4 millimeter gets X number of kilojoules of energy through his leg. But it was just the mindset and the ethos. So that would probably be the one that I would pick.
Amazing. Thank you.
No, pleasure.
David, really appreciate you coming on.
No, it's been great. Thank you very much.